Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. You ready to jump into some really fascinating stuff today?
Let's lay it on me.
So today's deep dive is all about truth and courage.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, you know how we always get those stacks of books and articles and we
Mm-hmm.
kind of sift through them all.
Yeah.
So this time, the theme that we're going to really focus in on is
Okay.
this relationship between truth and courage.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much our sources really dug into that connection.
Yeah, it seems like something that you could talk about forever. Like,
Exactly. I mean, it goes from like
yeah.
the biggest historical,
Right.
stories, and then it goes down into just like the little daily decisions that we make.
Yeah, totally.
One of the things that really jumped out at me
Okay.
was how truth is almost like this cognitive filter.
Oh, interesting.
Like it helps us to kind of
Uh-huh.
figure out what to pay attention to
Yeah, yeah.
and how to understand the world around us.
So it's like truth provides the framework for making sense of everything.
That's a really good way to put it, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And once we have that, then it's almost like courage
Yeah.
is kind of the natural next step.
Like a consequence of that truth.
Yeah, because once you know what you believe in,
Yeah.
then you're more likely to act on that belief.
Makes sense.
But I'm wondering,
Yeah.
does it depend on what kind of truth we're talking about?
Oh, that's a good point.
Because, some truths are more objective, like
Yeah.
scientific truths, and then some are more
If you're-
subjective, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there are certain universal truths for sure,
Yeah.
but a lot of what we consider truth is based on, our own experiences and
Yeah.
how we interpret things and our own backgrounds and cultures and all of that.
Exactly.
So I think the key is to be authentic, you know? It's to be true to ourselves
Yeah.
and to be true to the values that we hold.
Ooh, I like that. So it's not just about, knowing all the facts.
Mm.
It's about
Yeah.
figuring out how those facts fit into
Yeah.
your own personal compass.
Your own sort of moral compass.
Yeah, your moral compass.
Totally.
And then when you operate from that place of authenticity,
Mm.
that's what empowers you to be courageous.
I see. So it's like a feedback loop. Like truth
Yeah,
leads
to
authenticity leads to courage.
exactly. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Okay.
So we've got this like foundation
Yeah.
of truth and authenticity.
Uh-huh.
But how does that really play out in those moments where we're feeling fear and
Mhm.
uncertainty? Because
Mhm.
that's when it's hard to be brave.
That's when it's the hardest, yeah. It's interesting because a lot of the sources were saying that fear kind of thrives in the unknown
Oh, okay.
and that truth actually has this illuminating power
Right.
that helps us to see through that fear,
That makes sense.
Like, think about if you have to admit a mistake.
Oh,
That's scary.
yeah.
But if you know that honesty is the right thing to do,
Yeah.
that can give you the courage to face the consequences.
It's funny you should say that because I actually had this situation where, I mean, I don't know if we want to get into the details now,
Yeah.
but
We can save that for later.
let's just say that I learned the hard way
Yeah.
that avoiding the truth only made things worse in the end.
Yeah. And I think that's something that came up in the research as well, is this
Ah.
idea that it's not always about these big, huge, like historic
Yeah.
displays of courage. It can be, the
Right.
little everyday
Right.
choices that we make.
Right. To do what we know is the right thing,
Exactly.
even when it's not the easiest thing to do.
Totally. I mean, speaking of those big
Yeah.
historic displays of courage, I mean,
Yeah. Gandhi, Martin Luther King, these
Yeah.
people, they're incredible. Their courage is just
it's hard to fathom.
remarkable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting how all the sources talked about
Mm-hmm.
how they had this unwavering commitment to truth.
Yes.
And that's really what fueled
Yeah.
their bravery.
I mean, they faced so much adversity, and
Yeah.
yet they still had this incredible sense of purpose,
Definitely.
Conviction.
Conviction, yeah.
and they weren't fearless. I mean, they felt fear,
Yeah.
but they chose to act
Right.
in accordance with what they knew to be true.
Regardless of the cost.
Absolutely.
So inspiring, but
Yeah.
how do we bring that
Yeah.
down to like our everyday lives?
Right. And actually, one of the sources brought up a really good point. They were saying that courage exists on a spectrum.
Interesting.
It's not always about,
Right.
leading a movement
Right.
or overthrowing an oppressive regime
Yeah.
or something like that. Sometimes it's just about
Right.
speaking up when you see injustice in your own community. Uh-huh.
Or being honest with somebody, even when it's a difficult conversation to have.
You know what? It made me think about scientists who are, challenging established norms based on
Oh, yes.
what they find in their research.
Absolutely.
That takes courage too.
Absolutely. Challenging the status quo
Yeah.
in any field, it takes a lot of guts.
So how does this all tie back to
Yeah.
this idea of truth empowering courage?
Right. Well, when we consistently act in alignment with truth, we develop something called moral confidence.
Moral confidence?
Yeah, it's like this deep-seated sense
I'm not
of
quite
rightness
safe.
that comes from knowing that you're living
Yeah.
in accordance with your values.
Oh.
It's like almost like building a muscle.
Uh,
Like each time you make an ethical choice,
yeah.
it strengthens your resolve
Okay.
and makes you less susceptible to outside pressures and
Like,
self-doubt and things like that.
so it's almost like an internal compass. It
Exactly.
keeps you on track.
Even when things are crazy around you.
Yeah, it gives you resilience and stability.
Okay.
I mean, think about it. Truth doesn't change. Like,
Yeah.
truth is truth.
Yeah.
So standing by it can
Okay.
give you a really solid foundation,
Oh, that's good.
even when you're facing a lot of opposition or things are really confusing.
And, it makes me think about
Yeah.
leadership.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
leaders who really prioritize truth tend to be
Yeah.
more trusted.
Absolutely, because when a leader is transparent and acts with integrity,
Mm-hmm.
it creates this ripple effect
Yeah.
throughout the organization, you know? It encourages other people to have courage as well.
Yeah. I wonder why more leaders
Yeah.
don't do that. But honestly,
Yeah.
let's be real. Choosing truth
Yeah.
can be really hard,
It's not easy.
especially
Uh,
when, like, everyone around you
right.
is pressuring you to conform,
Yeah.
or when speaking up could actually have, like, negative consequences.
Absolutely. And the research definitely pointed out how sometimes it's super challenging to align truth with courage because speaking truth to power, that can make you vulnerable. It can expose your
Mhm.
flaws and it can lead to conflict. And there's also the fact that truth itself can be so complex. I mean, we live in this world where there's so much information.
Oh, no.
It can be really hard to figure out
Yeah.
what's accurate
Exactly.
and what's not.
Yeah, that's a lot to deal with. So what do we do
Yeah.
in those situations where
Yeah.
it's not clear what the truth is or where it's like not popular to say it?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I don't know that there's an easy answer,
Yeah.
but I think it's about being willing to think critically about the information that we're receiving.
Mm-hmm.
It's about looking at things from different perspectives.
Okay.
And it's about being open to changing our minds when we need to.
Okay.
And sometimes it means having those hard conversations
Right.
or doing your own research to
Yeah.
figure out what's really going on.
So it sounds like this whole truth and courage thing
Mm-hmm.
is an ongoing journey.
Totally. It's about having the mindset, like valuing authenticity and
Yeah,
integrity and having the courage to act on those principles.
I like that. So it's not like you just arrive at truth and courage and then
Yeah.
you're done.
No, it's a constant process.
Well, practice. Yeah,
Yeah.
practice. Well, we've covered so much today.
It have.
So I think the biggest takeaway
Yeah.
is that truth and courage,
Mm-hmm.
they're like totally connected.
They're inseparable.
Inseparable, yeah.
Yeah.
Truth is what guides us,
Mm-hmm.
and then courage gives us that power
Right.
to follow that path.
And to keep going even when it's hard.
Yeah, even when it's hard.
Yeah.
And having both of those things is really important
Yeah.
if you want to live a meaningful life.
Absolutely. A life with purpose
Right.
and a life with integrity.
So as you're going about your day today, now, just remember the power of truth and the courage that it takes to really embrace that truth. So what truths are you going to stand up for today?